Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we are not going to discuss any new concept, nor we are going to solve any question, but instead, we are going to code a game. So this is gonna be a very exciting video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's hop in. So the game is something like this. We are going to prompt the player to guess a number between 1 and 1000. Then we are actually going to guess what the player has guessed. Of course, in that process, we are going to take some input from the user to enhance our next guess. For example, if the user guessed something like this 900, and we on our first guess predicted something like 400, then we'll ask the user if my number is smaller than your guess or greater than your guess. It will be more clear as we code along. So let's just code then. Okay, one more thing, I am gonna code this in C++ and I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE of your choice. So without any further ado, let's start then. First things first, I'll just import the header files that we need. I'm not going to import all the header files that we need. We are going to import them as per our need. So first I'll need this IOStream header file because we are going to do some input output. Okay, then I'll write simply this using namespace std so that I can directly refer cout and cin. Then I'll write our main method. Simple as that. Return 0. So nothing new here. We are just importing the header file. I'm declaring that I'm using this namespace std so that I can use cout simply directly like this, and I don't have to write something like this. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so first things first, we need to actually tell the player, right, what is the game and what are the rules. So for that, I'm just going to create a simple function that actually prints all the rules of the game. It will be a word function. I'm declaring the function prototype here, and I'm gonna define the function here. It's a void because it won't return anything. It will just print certain couts. Okay, just print some lines on the console that are the rules of the game. Okay, I'm not going to waste your time by writing all the cout statements. It's better I just paste them. Okay, we'll go through them. So here are the rules of the game. I'll tell the user to guess a number between 0 and 1000. Okay, then we'll take feedback from the user. Then we'll say press Y if our guess is right, press U if your guess is higher. That simply means if we guess something lesser than what he is thinking, we are going to tell him to press U. Press D if your guess is low. That is, if our guess is higher than what he is thinking, we are gonna tell him to press D. And I'm just telling him, if you are ready, press enter to continue, and that enter key will be actually taken by this getchar. Now as I'm using this getchar, I need to actually include this header file, and that header file is C standard IO. Okay, now it is better that you understand the logic of our game so that the coding part becomes easy. Okay, so what we are doing actually here is we are basically telling the player to guess a number between 0 and 1000 inclusive. That is, you can guess 0 and 1000 also. Now let's just assume the player guessed something like 235. Okay, 235, he guessed something like this. Now what are the algorithm that we are gonna follow here is we are gonna basically generate random numbers in some range. Of course, we gotta have some range to generate the random numbers. And what will be that range actually? That range will be simply, that range is actually gonna change dynamically. Now what I mean is, for the first guess, let me just write here first guess. First guess, I have no choice. I have to generate a number between 0 and 1000 only. Okay, I have no choice. I have to generate a number between 0 and 1000 because I don't know anything about the user's thought. So let's just say I generate a number randomly and it turned out to be 658. Okay, so it turned out to be 658. Now what we are gonna do? We are simply gonna ask the player for his feedback. Now what will the player say? He will simply say, hey man, your number is actually higher than my number. So the player will actually press D, because we know if our guess is higher than his guess, he will press D. Now what does it mean the player presses D? It simply means that the number that we guessed is actually more than his number. So what it tells us, what it actually tells us, that we can implement in our next guess. It simply tells that the next time that you generate a number, the maximum number that you should be take care of is just 657 only. Why? Why is that? Because we generated 658. The player already told that my number is less than that. So it's definite that my number will be maximum 657. Okay. So it can never be greater than 658. This simply means the next time that we make a guess, we have to just make sure that the maximum number will be that number minus 1. Okay. So what is the catch here? Whenever a player press D, what does that mean? Our guess is higher than his guess. Okay. So that simply tells the next time whenever you generate a number, make sure that the maximum number is actually less than your previous, less than 1 than your previous guess. Make sense? Minimum won't change because we don't know anything about that. So minimum will be still 0. It will be more clear if we just make a second guess. Let's just make a second guess. Now we know in the second guess that we have to generate a number between 0 and 657. Okay. Now let's just say by any means we generated number something like this, 143. Now what will the player tell? The player will simply tell, man, my number is actually greater than that number. So he will simply press U. Okay. So what does this tell actually? It simply tells my number is greater than this 143. So what you need to take care in the next guess is just start from 144 next time, because my number is not smaller than 143. Okay, it's not 143 and it's not smaller than, so it's better that you start from 144 next time. Next time don't waste your time by thinking about 0 to 142. Okay, and max won't change because there is no information provided by that. Make sense? Okay, so let's just say now what is our range then in the third guess? In the third guess, our range is 144 through 657. Okay, now let's just say again we somehow generated a number, and that is something like let's just take some higher number. It's simply something like 350. Now what will the player say? The player will definitely say, okay bro, this number is actually greater than my number. So you will press D. Okay, my number is actually less than this. So what does this specify? It simply specifies the next time you search, please don't waste your time and next time you actually generate a number, please don't waste your time generating numbers greater than 350. So it simply tells at max please generate 349. Okay, please at max please actually generate a number that is 349. Don't waste your time in generating number that is greater than 349. And minimum won't change, it will be still 144. Okay, so let's just say fourth guess then. What does it tell? What is our range now? The minimum is still 144. The maximum is now 349. Okay, so let's just make another guess. Let me see what we can guess here. Let's just say it guess something like this, 200. Now what will the player say? The player will simply say, player presses U. He simply says my number is actually greater than this 200. Okay, so what does this mean? This simply means next time you generate a number, please don't care about the number smaller than 200. Okay, just start generating numbers. Take a number from 201. Okay, so minimum should be 201. Maximum, there is no information about maximum, so it should be 349 only. So you know where this is going, right? Where basically we started from the maximum range 0 to 1000. We actually then, depending on the what user presses, what the user's feedback is, we are actually reducing the range. It's not like we are just saying numbers from 0 to 1000 asking the user. We are actually following a valid algorithm here. What we did is we simply generated a number. If that number was actually greater than the user's guess or the player's guess, what we found out that as this number is greater than my player's guess, I need not search the numbers greater than, I need not worry about the numbers greater than this number in my next guess. Now as you understood the logic, it's better that we code it, right? You got it, right? Eventually we'll guess something that is actually matched to the player's guess. Okay, this will eventually lead to a guess that will actually equal to the player's guess. So let's code it. First things first, we of course need a character variable that actually stores player's choice. It can be U, D, or so. Okay, and this will change depending on how many guesses we make. Then what will we need? We'll of course need a guess variable that actually updates randomly. We are gonna make different guesses in each and every iteration, right? Now, on the first guess, as we know, we have to generate a number between 0 and 1000. Okay, so how will we do? We'll simply use the rand function present in C standard library. I forgot to include that library. Okay, let me just quickly include that. C standard lib. Okay, makes sense. Now, what does this random does is it actually generates a number between 0 and the maximum range of integer. But we don't want that, right? We want to generate a number between 0 and 1000. So let me just perform a modulo division then. Now it will generate a number between 0 and 1000. Why? Because we know when we perform a modulo, the maximum number that can be possible is one number less than that. It's simple, right? It's not much of a big deal. Now here if we see, we have generated our first guess. But there's a problem here. This is actually not random. And what do I mean by that is, let me just print this my guess. Okay, let me just print it. Just get rid of the previous outputs. Here you see it generated 41. Okay, works. Let me run it again. It still generates 41. Okay, let me run it again. Still generates 41. Let me try one more time. Still 41. Yeah, we know this 41 is in range between 0 and 1000. But what is the use of if it every time generates the first guess to be 41? There's no randomness here. Okay. So what is the problem here is this rand actually works on a specific algorithm. So basically you can say if we don't specify anything, the rand will always give us the same value. That is to say, just consider this rand is a book. If we don't specify the starting page of the book, it will always open the first page. Okay, but we need to tell rand that please don't open the first page every time. Okay, so how we do that is we basically use this asrand function. We call this process as seeding. It's the analogy of the book. We are telling it, please don't start from the first page every time. Please start from something more random. Okay, so but again there will be a problem. If I simply pass a value like 40, let me just say start from the page number 40. Okay, just consider this rand has a book which contains a bunch of numbers. Okay, now the starting page contains number 41 as we saw. Let's just say to rand to start from page number 40. Okay, take that page number 40 and give me a number. So let me just run it again. Let's just see what it. Okay, I guess I miss. Okay, I just removed that C out. Okay, sorry for that. Let me print it again. Let me just show you what is the problem here. Okay, it generates 169. Nice. It's something different than 49. Let me run it again. 169 again. Let me run it again. You can see I actually changed the starting point of the page that random number generator was giving. I changed the starting point, but still I made it constant. Now what I have to do is I have to just make the starting point to be some dynamic. And what is dynamic? Simply it's time. So what I will do is I will just include one more library here that will be named ctime. Now what it does is actually let's perform time related task. Now what we will do is we will simply write something like this, time of 0. Now what it does is it basically returns total number of seconds that have passed from January 1, 1970. Okay, so this asrand basically specifies the starting point of our rand, that is the starting page from where the rand has to return me a number, and we actually seed it, or we can say we just tell the rand to start every time from a different page. Why? Because we know that time will be ever changing, right? If I run it one time, let me just clear out this output. So let me just run this so that things will be more clear. Let me run it one time. Okay, it generates 666. Let me run it again. Generate 702. Okay, now it's really getting random. Let me run it again. And now you can see it actually generates random numbers. Why? Because we found that this rand actually works on some specific algorithm. What we did is we actually give, and that algorithm actually requires some starting point. Now we are actually giving that starting point to be dynamic. What does the time zero return? This time zero basically returns number of seconds that have passed from January 1, 1970 or something like that time. But the catch here is this will change every time. That is, the starting point of this rand will change every time. So it will definitely generate random numbers. So I guess our first problem is clear. Okay. So we made our first guess between 0 and 1000. Okay. So next what we need? We'll be needing two variables that will store basically the range that we are currently. Now the initial range will of course start from 0 and 1000, but we will change it of course. Okay, let me just name it minx and maxx. Okay, simply 0 and 1000. Okay, we'll change it dynamically, don't worry. Now what we have to do? We have to firstly of course print the playing instructions, right? That's very trivial. We have to print the playing instructions. Then what will we do? We'll simply print out our first guess, right? We'll simply tell the user, hey user, this is my first guess. So I'll tell my guess is, let me just print it. What is my guess? My guess. Simple as that. Okay. Now what do we need to do next? Now we have to actually run a loop here. Until when? Until user presses Y. Because if user presses Y, then definitely our guess is matched to his. So we actually presented our guess. What we did here, let me just quickly go through. We created two variables, player choice for storing the player's choice, my guess variable that actually stores our guess. This I just created these two variables to holding the current ranges, because we are gonna generate depending on these ranges, right? Then we simply print the playing instructions. Then we print our first guess, and now we need to run a loop. Let me take a do while loop. Okay, let me just take a do while loop here. Now what will we do here is, what the first thing we have to do? We have to of course first take the player's input, because the cursor will be blinking here. Okay, we'll first take the player's input. Then what will we do? We'll basically check. What will we check? What is the player's choice? Of course. Now the player may press small y or capital Y. So for that case, let me just convert this player choice to uppercase. And for that, I guess I need to include one more library here, and that is as include cc type. Okay, I promise this is the last library. Okay, so what we have to do is we just simply convert this into uppercase. Okay, and then we are gonna check this to upper, is it equal to Y or not? We're gonna check. If it is equal to Y, then of course our guess is correct. Then it is simply break out of the loop. Simple as that. Let me repeat it again. The loop starts, and for the starting point, we'll take the player's choice. Okay. Now, if the first time only our guess is right, we'll simply check this condition and break out of the loop. Simple as that. Now let's just see another condition. Okay. Now what if player presses, let me just cast it to upper only again. Okay, so what if the player presses actually U? What does that mean? This condition, right? The player presses U, this condition. Okay, so if the player presses U, actually that simply means that his number is actually greater than that. So what does this mean? The next time we start, please don't check numbers smaller than me. Okay, so the minx should actually change. What should be the minx? It should be my guess plus 1. You got it, right? Let me just show you an example. This was the condition. We were searching from 0 to 657. We generated 143. As the player press U, what we conclude? The next time you search, please start searching from my current guess plus 1. This was my current guess, 143. Please next time don't waste my time in searching numbers less than my current guess, less than equal to current guess. So that's what we did here. If the player press U, we know that next time when we are trying to generate a number, please don't care for the numbers less than the current guess that you made here. Okay, so this minx equals to my guess plus 1. You got it, right? there should be another condition then, this D condition. What is the player presses D? Let me just paste it again. It's D. So what you have to do, the player presses D, that simply means, please next time whenever you generate a number, please don't, okay, so whenever the player presses D, it simply means the next time whenever you guess that number, please don't care about the numbers that are greater than equal to this current guess. Simple as that. So that's why I just took my range and decremented it. Let me again take that example here. We have this range 0 to 1000. We generated 658. Okay, so the player's guess was less than that. So you press D. So what does that mean? Next time wherever you generate the number, please take the max as 657. That is, please decrement 1 from your current guess and then generate it. Okay, so that's what we did here. Let me just quickly go through what we did here is, first things first, we take the player's choice because we have to take that. Then we converted the choice to uppercase just to avoid confusion. If it's Y, then it's a match. So we just need to break out of the loop. Simple. But if it's U, what does that mean? It simply means that my number is actually greater than yours number. Okay. So what you do is, you simply don't care about the numbers than your current guess which are less than it. Okay. For example, as we found out earlier, this 143 case, please don't care about the numbers less than equal to 143. Start from 144. So please start from my guess plus 1. Make sense? If you press D, please don't care about the numbers that are greater than myself. Let me quickly go through what does this loop does. Firstly, it will take input from the player choice. If player presses Y, it's simple. It just breaks out of the loop because we found out the player's guess. So what if the player presses U? It simply means player's guess is larger than our guess. So that we need to update our minimum range. Okay? Because we don't need to worry about the numbers that are less than our guess. Okay, so we actually make our minimum range my guess plus 1. Simple. If the player presses D, simply we have to update the max range. Why? Because our number is less than that. So please don't worry about the numbers greater than my guess. Okay, so just simply start maximum, you'll worry about my guess minus 1. Let me quickly go through that topic again. This was 658, right? The player press D. So please don't worry about the numbers greater than equal to 658. Simply update my max range to 657. Simple as that. So I hope it's finally clear. Let me just write here else if. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is actually update our guess variable. And of course we need to update it every iteration, right? So how are we going to update it? We actually have to update in such a way that it generates a random number between min-x and max-x. And how will we do is, let's go step by step. How many numbers we want to generate? We want to generate numbers max-x minus min-x plus 1, right? We want to generate this much number of numbers, right? And that's pretty obvious. Just consider what I mean by that is from how many numbers we have to select a number. We have to select a number from this much numbers. Why is that? Let me just show you. Consider this case. It is 0 to 1000. How many numbers are there? There are 1001, right? How did it came? 1000 and a 0 plus 1. How many numbers are present between 0 and 657? 657 and a 0 plus 1. 658. Okay? So that's why this many numbers we want. There are this many numbers, we have to pick one number from it. Okay, so if I write something like this, rand mod something, so it will actually generate a random number from this many of numbers, and I don't want that. This will actually start from 0, right? 0 till the max number minus 1. It will do something like this, right? So what will we do is, let's just start from min-x. Make sense? These are total numbers we want. Okay. If I write something like this, it will actually generate numbers 0 till the maximum number. But I actually want to start from min-x. So I just added 0. So whenever this will generate a number 0, it will be actually min-x. So the minimum number will be min-x. Make sense? I think so. So don't worry if you don't understand it. Just pause the video and replay it to definitely understand. We are just doing simple arithmetic here. We are just generating a random number from this range, and we don't want it to start from 0. We want to start it from the min x. Simple. So I just add min x here. Okay. The last thing, we of course need to tell the user this is my new guess. Okay. So I'll just write the same statement. My guess is, okay, it's my guess, and I'll end line here. Okay. And if you see here, I've just written true here. Okay. And why is that? Because simply the loop will break at this condition. Whenever the user will press Y, the loop will definitely break at this condition. Okay, so let the condition be always true. It is definitely gonna break here. Okay, you can use any loop if you want. You just need to implement this logic. You understood the logic, right? That's the main catch here. So I guess that's it. That this is the program. Let me just quickly reformat it and run it. Okay, let's just run the program. Oh, we're getting some error here. Just get rid of this and run it again. Oh, I don't know what was that error. It now runs. So let's press enter to continue. Okay, let's just guess a number like 525. Okay, let's press U. His guess is 225 right now. Let's press U. My guess is 525. Okay, remember. Let's press U. Okay, it's 35. Again, it's U. Oh no, my number is less than that. Oh, my number is actually greater than that. 525, right? Still it's up. No, bro, it's actually less than that. It's still less than that. It's actually still less than that because our guess is 525. Okay, now I guess it's finally gonna come. Oh, it's still less than that. Yeah, I'll press Y because this is my guess. See, it works. Okay, so this was it then. Let me just quickly summarize what we did in this program. Actually, basically, firstly we printed the instructions. Then the logic was pretty simple. We actually first generated a number between 0 and 1000, and depending on what the user presses, if the user presses D, that simply means don't worry about the numbers less than your current guess. If the user presses U, please don't worry about the numbers which are actually less than your current guess. Makes sense? So I guess that's it then. This was the program. It was pretty simple, right? The logic was pretty simple. We have to just generate firstly a random number 0 and 1000, and depending upon what the user presses, we just have to update a range from which generate a random number. Okay, so I guess that's it then. Thank you for watching.